Hi guys, Banana here. Hope everything's going well with everybody. I'm coming to you just with a little bit of a aim tutorial, very basic aim tutorial. How to start off in Black Ops or Call of Duty, learning how to shoot, aiming in particular. Some guides, some basic guides that I found that worked for me. I'm no professional. I'm a real casual player or weekend warrior, if you want to put it to that way. I don't have much time to play this game, but I just want to share what I have learned in Call of Duty and how to control my weapons, my assault rifles or guns, whatever the case may be, how to get that aiming correct, the basics of the aiming that I came over the past few months learning how to control those weapons to narrow down my aim. Right, how did I go about it? Okay, so guys, just to share my how I went about learning how to improve my aim, or a bit of a guide that I can suggest or give you guys a bit of an idea how to narrow aiming down. Just remember, it's more basic. I'm not by all means an advanced player or anything. I'd like to share that with you by going into the firing range. That's the easiest way to see it. So if I go to my weapons for now, weapons, go to the loadout, pick any loadout. Let's say loadout 4 here. Now go into the firing range. Okay, so this goes with every weapon. Doesn't matter which gun it is, whether it's an assault rifle, SMG, an LMG, you name it. The guns always have a recoil period, and it's for you to learn the recoil of each gun. Each gun recoil is different. Once you've mastered that, then it becomes a lot easier. Moment I've got my EGRT 17, and what I'm going to do here, if I take on a target and I'm going to shoot him, aiming down scope, right fire onto his chest. Okay. Immediately I'm putting back on my mouse. Remember, I'm playing with keyboard. Let me hold this up, a keyboard and a mouse. So I need to compensate for the recoil. If I just aim and I hold the trigger down, you see my recoil pushes my gun up. So in order to compensate for that, I fractionately or gradually ever so pull down on that to minimize that. Wait for my target to come back up. Let me try again. Hold it down. A quick way to get used to the recoil. Each gun is different. It takes practice. It takes time. Spending a few minutes in the firing range before every game helps initially, especially when starting out. After you've been through a few minutes of each before each game, or every day for a few minutes in the firing range, learning the gun, getting the hang of it, you don't need to. It's just the initial starting point, the very basics, getting used to that recoil, pulling down on your mouse ever so gradually as the recoil lifts. It varies from gun to gun. Okay, so once you have mastered that aim down scope and anticipate that recoil, you're halfway there. That is a trick to it. The next thing to master with aiming is what we call hip fire, where you don't aim. This is aim down scope. Hip fire is basically from the actual hip. So without, in other words, aiming down scope. The idea is close range. Okay, you can up close. You don't lose that second to aim down scope. You just fire. Okay, and as you can see, the pattern, the firing pattern is a bit more broader, but in a nutshell does the same thing. You're trying to anticipate the recoil on hip fire, but you do get a broader fire of bullets, if I can put it that way, and you tend not to get as much damage in as quickly. But yes, up close, that is the ideal thing to do, is do hip fire. It's just knowing when to use the aim down sights and when to use hip fire. That split second of a decision to get that right. Okay, that's the next thing to learn. Another thing to point out is when you aim at your target, try and go for head. The upper torso and head does the most amount of damage. So if I swap over to my sniper rifle and I shoot this target in the leg, okay, there, and there, took 2 shots. Let me try that again. Shooting the first shot in the leg. There. And there. But now if I change that around and I shoot him in the head. Straight in the head. One shot. Okay, so that's the difference. That's why sometimes it seems like you shoot the person, shoot the person that don't fall. It's because you find that you are actually hitting them. You see the mark that you're shooting them, you're hitting them, but you're hitting them in the arm or you're hitting them in the leg. But they turn around and shoot you 2-3 shots in the head and you're done. It almost seems like as if you're enemies cheating, but they're not really cheating. They're just getting a more of an accurate shot on you. They're hitting you in the head or they're hitting you in the upper torso, hence they're putting you down a lot quicker. And that's a mistake I see a lot of new beginners make, including myself. I often just try and aim at the target, not focusing specifically on headshots or upper torso, just trying to generalize to hit that moving target. You just hit them in the legs and you don't do that much damage. And then they turn around and shoot you 2 or 3 times in the head and they get away with it. They put you down. Hence, always try and go for that upper body, upper head position. The problem is playing the game and the loot, especially the loot, is always on the ground. So when you're walking around, you're normally looking at the ground. You're looking at the loot boxes on the ground, picking up. So when you see a target, you always normally start here at the feet anyway and shoot sort of in the legs, in the feet, and the lower torso, not doing that much damage as a person that will be hitting in the head type thing. But just something to keep mindful of is try and aim for the upper head. Yeah. And then the trick comes in. This is all good and well, good tips and hints on aiming and keeping control of your weapon, whether when to hit fire and when to aim down sights and aiming for the head, all very good and well. Another trick, and this is where your professional players and ranked players get in on top of you, is learning a simple thing of trying to move at the same time. And that is where the catch comes in. This is something I struggle with and a lot of beginners struggle with. When you come up to a target, we all pretty much do the same thing, is aim down sight, we stand still. As soon as we do that, we become a target, an easy target. The idea, if you see my previous videos on movement, we need to move at the same time. We need to be able to slide and shoot at the same time, and that's not always easy to do. Some sort of jumping motion or slide motion and try and fight and shoot down, and that's sort of not always so easy. Yeah, so that literally comes from practice in times, practice over time, should I say. It's practice, lots and lots of time becomes memory muscle. I'd like to share this little video with you guys on one of my opponents that took me down, how he was able to do this. And it's something that you guys can visually see it happening in the field and practice for yourselves. Let me share that with you.
Another guy, yes.
Okay, so you'll see how this guy jumps up and down. He's like a bouncing bunny, jumping up and down, up and down. Watch this. Watch this when he comes around here. Bounce, bounce. So this is what I'm talking about. Being able to move and shoot at the same time. That's good aim. If you can jump and shoot at the same time, that's what it's all about. So guys, that's what it's all about. Being able to aim, keep that consistency, whether it's hip fire or aim down sights, and still hit your targets and still move at the same time to get that combination correct. And or either ducking behind cover or some sort also helps. If there's a tree or a building that you can duck in behind and just peek behind a building, those are little tactics and little skills you pick up over time. But that in a nutshell is what it comes down to aiming. Remember to anticipate the recoil. That's the first step. Get the recoil right. Practice a little bit. Get that right. Okay. And then get the hip fire right. Then you're okay. And then try get the movement and firing and aiming at the same time. Then you start to progress in the game. Guys, I hope this little helps you. This little tutorial, little guide, is like I say, it's a real basic guide. I hope it helps you. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Cheers, everybody. Bye-bye.